Welcome back to Old School Sports and our Out of the Park Baseball 26 series, Rescue the Rockies. And the 2031 playoffs are about to begin after a shocking rally over the final week or so of the season. Our Rockies not just passed the Los Angeles Dodgers to win the National League West for a second consecutive season and a third time over the course of this playthrough. But we also ended up with the best record in all of baseball, so we will have home field advantage for as long as we are around during these playoffs. Also been a good year for us financially. 22nd budget in baseball, the 25th payroll in baseball, so definitely pleased to be a very good team on the field while dealing with those constraints. But we've also made over $10 million for ownership as the postseason is about to begin. Hopefully we'll have several postseason series with which to add to that number and ultimately maybe start expanding our budget in the future. Also a very strong attendance this year. Our one primary owner goal this year dealt with attendance, and we were glad that we were able to increase attendance by over 33% from a year ago while not dropping prices that materially. One negative thing, though, and this has unfortunately become a common theme for our Rockies for a fourth consecutive season, fourth consecutive postseason, we're going to be without a very important player for the playoffs. Unfortunately for us, our starting catcher, Drew Romo, who had a 4.3 WAR this past season, above average offensive player, well above average defensive player, captain personality, who's a great influence in the clubhouse, suffered a hamstring strain in game number 161 and is certain to miss the NLDS. If we're fortunate enough to move to the NLCS, he's certain to miss that. If we're fortunate enough to get to the World Series, holding out maybe a little bit of hope, we would see him then, or at least have a decision to make on him then. But I think the probability of that occurring is relatively low, unfortunately. And as I mentioned, that's kept a streak of these past four seasons when we've suffered a very significant injury very late in the season. Last year in 2030, we lost our starting second baseman, Andres Jimenez, and the starting pitcher, Isaiah Shader, for the playoffs right at the end of the season. In Shader's case, I believe it may have also actually been in October, technically, that he had that injury last year. Yeah, October 3rd, right at the end of the season, and that cost us a year ago a very important starting pitcher who was a 14-game winner for us last season for the postseason. And if you remember last postseason, we made it to Game 7 of the World Series before we fell to Baltimore. And we definitely had some struggles with our third and fourth starters over the course of the postseason. So losing Shader and the defense of Jimenez was huge at the end of 2030. And then actually in that 2030 postseason, we were also without our starting shortstop, Ezekiel Tovar, who back in 2029 suffered a torn labrum that cost him not just the 2029 postseason, but ultimately with the significant setback that he had, cost him all of the 2030 season and all of the 2030 postseason as well. And a year before that, in 2028, we lost Tovar to a strained PCL for the postseason. That injury happened a bit earlier on August 30th, so not the mid to late September jinx that we've had these past few seasons, but we've definitely had some very significant injuries that cropped up not too long before the playoffs each of the past four seasons. Have not been able to overcome those injuries yet and win it all. But we'll see if this season we are able to overcome the injury to Romo. Taking a look at the wild card series, which will be beginning tomorrow. Seattle Mariners and Tampa Bay Rays with the byes in the American League. Detroit will be facing Toronto in an old AL East matchup, and the Red Sox going up against the White Sox in another wild card series. Both us in Colorado and the Pittsburgh Pirates will be awaiting the winners of the wild card series in the National League. Will be facing either the Washington Nationals or the Los Angeles Dodgers, while the Pirates will get the Braves or the Phillies. So definitely an interesting draw for us, unfortunately, with the Dodgers looming there. As I noted, we had the best record in all of baseball, and it's conceivable because the Dodgers ended up as a wild card team that we could be facing the team with the second best record in baseball in the National League Division Series. But if that's what ends up happening, just one more team that will have to beat as we try to finally guide these Rockies to a title. We've made the playoffs 6 straight years now, but only that one World Series appearance last year. And with that injury to Romo, we're definitely going to take a hit in terms of his hitting ability, and we're also going to take a hit in terms of the outstanding defense he brings and the impact that that's had on our pitching staff. Juan Flores is going to become our starter. He hit .213 this year, is a very good defensive catcher, but his blocking and framing are worse than Romo's. And our new backup catcher is going to be Chris Boone, assuming that he does recover from that bruised shoulder by the time the divisional series begins, which we do anticipate. A 9th-round pick of ours in 2027. Boone has never actually faced Major League pitching, and you can kind of understand why when you look at his batting profile. But he is similar to Mr. Flores, a very solid defensive catcher, although not quite at the Drew Romo level. So hopefully we won't need to see much, if any, of Mr. Boone in the playoffs. But between him and Flores, the hope is that we can piece together some good performances from our starting pitching and our relievers by those guys making good decisions and executing behind the plate. And any offense that we get from either Flores or Boone will be a bonus as far as I'm concerned. As we think ahead to our playoff roster, we're going with 12 pitchers and hoping that Leo Martinez, who's day-to-day with back spasms for the next 5 days, will be ready to go for us by the start of the divisional series. But with only 12 pitchers on our team, our longtime ace and a guy who won 17 games for us in both 2029 and 2030, but had some injury issues this year and then a rough season with a 4-6 record and a 6.22 ERA, Jesus Luzardo, who was our number one starter for the playoffs just a year ago when we made it all the way to the World Series, is not going to be on the playoff roster unless we have something weird happen to us over the next few days. And taking a look at the results of the wild card series, 3 of the 4 series went to a full 3 games. The Blue Jays with the only sweep over the Tigers. The White Sox took out the Red Sox in 3. The Phillies took out the Braves in 3, and they'll be facing their cross-state rivals, the Pittsburgh Pirates. And the Washington Nationals took out our divisional rivals, the Los Angeles Dodgers. So we will be facing the Nationals here in the divisional series. Leo Martinez is healthy, so we're going to pitch the 21-year-old in game number 1. He had some pretty significant injury issues over the first half of the season for us, but ended up winning Rookie of the Month a couple of times over the final 3 months of the season, I believe. Finished with a 9-4 record with a 2.58 earned run average. These will be the first Major League postseason appearances of Martinez career. I guess I have to call it appearance. I'm assuming that he'll be pitching more than once, but we don't know that for sure. Pitching today for Washington, the right-hander Jack Lebowski. He was 5-4 with a 4.39 ERA. Started only 9 games for them. Does have extreme ground ball tendencies. Wonder if they might be using him as an opener or something, or perhaps it's going to be, yeah, I mean, he pitched 39 pitches 4 days ago. I have a feeling this could be a situation where Lebowski actually doesn't end up starting for them, or they are just going to use him as an opener. Our Rockies were 6-1 against the Nationals this year, so we had their number. 98 wins, as I mentioned, was the most in baseball for our Rockies. The Nationals, with an 86-76 record, were second place in the NL East and the second place in the wild card race in the National League. We had the number 1 offense in the NL. They were right in the middle of the pack, tied for 8th. And interestingly, our pitching staffs were both tied for 4th in the National League. So the offense favors us. The pitching looks completely even, at least as far as the statistics, as we prepare for game number 1. Hopefully we can get things off to a good start, and the youngster making his first postseason start for us will perform well after having a really good second half of the season for us. And we do get a 5-0 win. Martinez with the W, Lebowski with the loss, Ryan Stone with a home run, and Gus Nieves with a home run. Probably our 2 best offensive players over the course of this season, so nice to see them jumping right in with a performance in the playoffs. We scored a run in the 2nd, solo homer from Nieves. In the 5th, single from Tovar. Bottom of the 6th, run-scoring double from Marcelo Meyer, and then a 2-run home run from Stone in the 7th. So 5 runs on 8 hits for our Rockies. Only 3 hits on the day for the Nationals. So Martinez was outstanding. 2 hits, 1 walk, and 6 strikeouts, no earned runs. Kumar Rocker, who was our 5th starter much of this season, gave us 2 innings of 1-hit relief. Lebowski did actually pitch. That's interesting. They had him going 60 pitches on, even though he pitched only 4 days ago, assuming that they may have had some real long games in their series with the Dodgers and the pitching staff was all messed up, because I can't think of a great reason why coming out of a 3-game series they're going to be pitching a guy who's not an ace on short rest, but that was the decision Washington made. Lebowski wasn't horrible. 2 hits, 1 walk, 1 earned run over 3 2/3 innings. We also scored runs out of against 3 of their relievers, Griffin Jacks, Evan Phillips, and Edwin Diaz. Interestingly, so a very experienced veteran bullpen for Washington. Leo Martinez, not surprisingly, is your player of the game. And our Rockies are up 1-0 in the National League Division Series against these Washington Nationals. And getting ready for game number 2 of the series, Shane Baz, the 32-year-old righty, 9-8 with a 3.77 ERA on the mound for the Nationals. The guy who we really missed in the rotation last year, Isaiah Shader, healthy and on the mound for us, 13-8 this year with a 4.71 ERA. But his WAR of 2.8 was actually very similar to what he put up a year ago for us. Tied for the National League lead with 34 wins. Hopefully we can be heading to Washington up 2-0. And we do get another win, 13-1. So we've outscored Washington 18-1 in those first 2 games. So far, that 6-1 record we had against the Nationals this year, definitely holding up. Shader with the win, Baz with the loss, not surprisingly in a 13-1 victory. Tovar and Stone with homers, and Adile Amador with 2 dingers for us today. So the Rockies seem to be rolling thus far. Scored runs in each of the first 3 innings. Solo homer from Tovar in the first. Solo homer from Amador in the second. Tovar added an RBI single in the second. And then Christian Arguelles with a 2-run single off of Boz in the third. Added 4 runs in the sixth. So monster day for us. 13 runs on 17 hits. Nationals make an error for the second straight day, and they've had only 8 hits in those first 2 games. Arguelles, Tovar, Stone, and Amador all had 2 or 3 ribbies for us. Gus Nieves, Kevin Roberts Jr., and Amador all scored 2 or 3 runs for us. So a very strong day. Everyone in the starting lineup had at least a hit for us. Shader with a really nice performance, 3 hits, 1 walk, and 10 strikeouts over 7 2/3. Drew Summers did give up a run in relief. Boz, a very rough outing, 7 hits, 4 walks, and 6 earned runs over just 2 2/3 innings. And they emptied out their bullpen, although everyone will get a day off tomorrow as we're traveling across the country to Washington, D.C. And game number 3, we are going to give to Andrew Painter. You may remember he had a very difficult postseason for us a year ago, and a pretty difficult first season in Colorado, even in the regular season, but was 12-9 this year with a 3.49 earned run average. Did lead the National League with 93 walks, so not everything was perfect, but a 2.5 WAR from the 28-year-old right-hander was a good, solid starting pitcher for us. Mitch Bratt, 28-year-old lefty on the mound for the Nationals. He was 12-8 with a league-best 2.59 earned run average, also tied for the league-leading game started, and led the league in homers per 9 and FIP minus with a 6.2 WAR. So Bratt looking like a potential Cy Young candidate for the Nationals, although his a 16.20 ERA in presumably 1 appearance in that series against the Dodgers. See if we can sweep this series and move on to start awaiting the winner of the Phillies and the Pirates, who are knotted up at 1 apiece. Unfortunately, not to be the case. Another good pitching performance by us. Gave up just 2 runs, but that held up for the Nationals. 2-1 victory for them. Jacks with the W. Painter takes the loss. Jack Dreyer with the save for Washington. So Painter loses another game. We scored a run in the 5th, and then they came back with 2 in the bottom of the 6th. Run-scoring singles from Dickerson and Santana, but still a very solid performance by Mr. Painter. Looking at our team, Kevin Roberts Jr., the rookie with the lone ribby for us in the 5th inning, scored Amador. Painter, 2 hits, no walks, 5 strikeouts with 2 runs, neither of them earned over 5 2/3 innings. Cole Carrig, who's kind of the 14th man on our roster, given that we moved from 13 to 14 players for the postseason, started for us at third base today against a lefty, and unfortunately that error really cost us. Painter was actually still named the player of the game despite taking the L. Bratt, 6 hits, 3 walks, and 1 earned run over 5 2/3. Jack's got the W, as we said. Dreyer with his 2nd save of the postseason. And we move on to game number 4 and hope that we can win this one here today and avoid having to play another game at home in this series. Cade Cavalli, the veteran right-hander who was 14-8 with a 3.03 ERA on the mound for the Nationals, so a good one on the mound for them. We've got Braden Nett on the mound. He led the National League a year ago with 18 wins. Rougher season for him this year, 6-9 with a 5.24 ERA, only about half a win above replacement level. So Net has not been as good this year as he has been in the past. Similar to Painter, a lot of walks, 91 in 153 innings. We'll see if we can get this W. And we do an 8-2 victory. Joe Rock with the win in relief. Trevor McGill takes the loss for the Nationals in relief. The youngster Christian Arguelles with the home run. And Adail Amador was named your series most valuable player. So an 8-2 victory, and it actually went 13 innings. We scored 2 in the fourth. They came back with 2 in the bottom of the fourth, but in the top of the 13th inning, our Rockies exploded for 6 runs on the way to an 8-2 victory. Arguelles with a double, Charlie Condon with a run-scoring single. Ultimately 3 hits today from Arguelles and 3 hits today from Dean West. Not a ton of offense otherwise, just 12 hits for us over 13 innings, but another fantastic pitching performance for the Rockies, holding the Nationals to just 6 hits over 13 innings pitched. Really emptied out the bench. Even Chris Boone got his first major league action, going 1 for 2 with a ribby in that 6th inning. Braden Nett with a solid performance, 4 hits, 3 walks, but only 2 earned runs over 5 1/3, and then scoreless baseball the rest of the way through the 13th inning. Joe Rock getting the W in relief. Brutal performance to end the season for Trevor McGill, 5 hits, 2 walks, and 6 earned runs in just 1 inning pitched. So our Rockies are going to be moving on to the National League Championship Series. So 1 series down, potentially 2 series to go if we're going to finally win a World Series in Colorado. And there was not a lot of drama in the divisional series in both the American League and the National League. All of the teams with first-round byes advanced relatively easily. The Mariners swept out the Blue Jays, and the Rays swept out the White Sox in the American League. Over in the National League, it took us 1 game longer to take care of the Nationals, and the Pirates 1 game longer to take care of the Phillies with their 3-1 series victory. So the 2 best teams in each league are the 4 teams remaining here as the League Championship Series are about to get underway. And as I noted, our Colorado Rockies will be facing off against the Pittsburgh Pirates in our 2nd consecutive appearance in the National League Championship Series. We took 4 out of 6 against the Pirates this year with 93 wins. Pittsburgh was the National League East winner this year, although they did end up, of course, behind the Dodgers in terms of the number of wins they had in the regular season. Middle of the pack team in terms of the Pirates in run scoring with 720 runs scored, but an excellent pitching staff, tied for 2nd in the National League in runs against. The pitching staff, though, as good as it was this year, not perhaps as top heavy as it's been in previous seasons. You may remember that Jared Jones, who had been their number 2 starter for several years, was a free agent we thought about trying to go after this past offseason. We did not end up making an offer to him, but he did leave Pittsburgh. And the guy who's been the number 1 starter to Jared Jones for several seasons at this point, Paul Skeens, unfortunately for Pittsburgh, suffered shoulder inflammation right near the end of the regular season, and he's out for 5 months, so obviously going to miss the playoffs. So we're not the only team having real bad luck with injuries towards the end of the season. Skeens was 13-7 with a 3.84 ERA, 219 strikeouts, and a 5.3 WAR for Pittsburgh this year. So certainly would think the fact that we're not going to have to be going up against Skeens would help our chances. We've got the youngster, the 21-year-old Leo Martinez, back on the mound for Game 1 of this National League Championship Series. Logan Gilbert on the mound for the Pirates, 11-10 record with a 2.60 earned run average. So he had an outstanding season with almost a 4 WAR. There actually was an opportunity for us to pick up Logan Gilbert before the trade deadline. I was thinking about just bringing on another starter to give us some depth in case we had injuries, and for whatever reason the Pirates were shopping Logan Gilbert, and they were actually willing to keep his contract and trade him away for a very marginal player. But given that the Pirates were in the middle of a playoff race, obviously, as they ended up with 93 wins, I just didn't feel like it was that realistic of a trade to make. So we ended up standing pat, and we ended up not doing anything when it came to the trade deadline. But certainly if we lose today to a guy that we could have easily brought onto our team, I may be kicking myself for not having brought Gilbert on board a couple of months ago. So a good pitching matchup with two very high-quality pitchers who both had ERAs in the mid-twos this year here in game number 1 in Colorado. And the Pirates get the better of us. Gilbert, of course, with the W. Martinez takes the L. Colin Quintanilla with the save. 3 home runs for Pittsburgh. Sanford, Blanco Jr., who has hit 45 each of the last 2 years, and Braylon Brazaban. We did get a home run from Tovar, but Pittsburgh gets the jump on us in game number 1. 3-run homer from Tovar in the third gave them all the offense that they actually needed. Blanco, with the 3-run homer in the third. We got both of our runs off of a 2-run homer from Tovar in the bottom of the 8th. Too little, too late at that point, as we were already behind 5-0. Rough game for us, only 6 hits. We also made an error. Nobody on our team had multiple hits for us, unfortunately. Kevin Roberts Jr., the young outfielder, did have 2 steals. Tovar, who hit the 2-run homer, also made an error for us. Martinez gave us 6 2/3 innings, 10 hits, no walks, 5 strikeouts, allowed 4 earned runs. So was not a quality start, but he at least gave us some depth. Bobby Miller and Drew Summers combined as our relievers. Gilbert, an outstanding performance for Pittsburgh. 4 hits, no walks, 7 strikeouts. Did not allow a run over 6 1/3 innings pitched to be named the player of the game. And now we really feel a little bit of pressure here in game number 2, because we certainly don't want to be heading to Pittsburgh for 3 games down 2-0 in this National League Championship Series. So the pressure squarely on the Rockies. Shader had that really good performance in game number 1, 13-8 with a 4.71 ERA this year, just to refresh on that. Going up against Levi Sterling, led the National League with 19 wins, 19-5 record with a 3.44 earned run average and a 3.5 WAR. So another really good pitching matchup here today. We knew that even without Skeens, the Pirates pitching staff was good, and we'll see if we can get a W here, or will we be heading to Pittsburgh down 2-0. And we do bounce back. Shader with the W. Colton Smith takes the loss. Wellington Herrera with his first save of the playoffs. Brazaban with another home run for Pittsburgh. Taking a look at the box score, they scored a run in the second. Brazaban with a solo homer. RBI single from Meyer in the bottom of the second to give us the lead. They came back in the third to tie things. 3 runs for us in the bottom of the 6th, though. Meyer with a double, and the catcher Flores with a 2-run double. The big blows for us. 5 runs, 11 hits for our Rockies. 2 runs on 7 hits with an error for the Pirates. Ryan Stone, Adail Amador, Marcelo Meyer, and Mr. Flores all had a couple of hits for us. 3 ribbies from Flores. Shader, 6 2/3 innings, 5 hits, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts, allowed 2 earned runs. Able to use some of our bigger relievers in this game being a closer one. Gibson and Wellington Herrera combined to allow 2 hits and a walk over the final 2 1/3 innings. Shader, your player of the game. And Sterling, 5 hits, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts, and 2 earned runs over 4 1/3. But we made them work. They pulled him after 88 pitches. And unfortunately for them, Colton Smith had a very rough relief outing, pushing his ERA this postseason to almost 17. So not where we want to be, knotted up 1-1 heading to Pittsburgh, but certainly much better to head there tied 1-1 than down 2-0. And we've made the trip to Pittsburgh, getting ready for a pivotal game number 3 over in the American League. Things also knotted up at 1-1 between the Mariners and the Blue Jays. We've got Andrew Painter here on the mound for us. Zach Gallen, the 36-year-old veteran, is listed as Pittsburgh's starter, although supposedly he's out with an oblique strain. 5-16 record with a 4.57 ERA for Gallen this year, although he did put up a 4.4 WAR with those numbers. Allowed only 7 home runs over 159 2/3 innings, but pretty hard to be a 5-16 pitcher on a team that won 93 games. So it looks like he's had a lot of bad luck. But since he's listed at being out, not really clear to me why the Pirates would be trying to trick us into believing that Gallen is going to start today, because if the health status is out, I'm pretty confident that there's no way for that pitcher to actually pitch. But we will find out shortly who the Pirates end up pitching, and more importantly, whether we're able to beat that pitcher. And unfortunately, an 11-10 loss for us. Quintanilla gets the win. Gregory Santos with the loss in relief. Home runs for us from Kevin Roberts Jr. and Gus Nieves. They had 3 home runs. Kyle Tucker, Maddox Maloney, and Tony Blanco Jr. with his second of the NLCS. Back and forth game here. We took a 2-0 lead. They tied it up in the bottom of the 3rd. We erupted with 6 in the top of the 5th to go up 8-2. So to lose after that definitely hurts. They came back with 4 in the bottom of the 6th. We added a run in the 7th, so we were still up 9-6 heading into the late innings of this game. 2 runs for them in the bottom of the 8th, cut the deficit to 1. We added what we perhaps hoped would be an insurance run in the top of the 9th, but in the bottom of the 9th, 2 runs for them to tie things up. Looks like an error by the catcher that kills us. You wonder whether Drew Romo would have made that error. And then in the bottom of the 10th, Kyle Tucker with a solo homer out of Santos to walk us off. 3 errors today for the Rockies, so some uncharacteristic poor defense, but a lot of hits, 18 hits for our Rockies, 17 for the Pirates. 3 hit days by 4 players for us: Arguelles, Tovar, Kevin Roberts Jr., and Mr. Flores. They got 3 hits from Tyson Lewis and Jack Brannigan there. Jack Brannigan hit 3 ribbies, 3 hits for Billy Cook. Errors from Tovar, Amador, and Flores. Kevin Roberts Jr., 4 stolen bases already in the playoffs. Painter, for a second straight day, or a second straight start, was actually pretty solid for us. 6 hits, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, and 2 earned runs over 5 innings pitched. 1.69 ERA in the postseason this year, although his record is 0-1. Kumar Rocker, Luke Little, and Wellington Herrera all gave up multiple runs in relief. And then Santos gave up the homer that sent the Pittsburgh crowd home happy. Kevin Roberts Jr., the youngster, named the player of the game in that losing effort. But player of the game is a lot less important than winner of the game. And unfortunately for us, we are now down 2-1 to Pittsburgh. So getting ready for game number 4, certainly would love to win this one. Obviously would love to win the next 2, but if we win here today, that guarantees that no matter what happens in game 5, we'll at least be back to Colorado for the potential deciding games of this series. Braden Nett had a rough year this year, as we talked about, with a 6-9 record on the mound for us. Emmanuel Moxley, 26-year-old right-hander, was 15-4 with a 3.08 ERA for Pittsburgh this year. Former 4th-round pick, made his major league debut this year, and with a 3.7 WAR, looks to be a very strong Rookie of the Year candidate. Definitely accomplished more in his 27 starts than Leo Martinez was able to do for us in his 18 starts that he had this year. We'll see if we can knot things up at 2-2, or will we be facing an elimination game in game number 5. And we are going to be facing an elimination game, so things not going well for us against the Pirates. We took 4 out of 6 against them this season, but they've now won 3 of the first 4 in this series. Moxley with the win, Nett with the loss, Colton Smith with the save, so some redemption for him after taking the loss in game number 2. Kevin Roberts Jr., another home run for us, but 4-2 loss when all was said and done. Fell behind 4-0 before scoring runs in the 7th and the 9th to make it respectable-ish, but respectable-ish doesn't pay the bills. Amador with 3 hits and Nieves with a couple of hits for us. We held Pittsburgh to 5 hits, but they made them all stand up, and I think that error by the Rockies may have been an issue. Yeah, it definitely was. Braden Nett, 5 hits, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts over 7 1/3 innings, 4 runs allowed, but only 1 was earned. So Tovar, who is still on paper an excellent defensive shortstop and had a very good year for us with a 10.7 zone rating, 1.058 defensive efficiency at shortstop. So he's probably a gold glove candidate for us at shortstop, but he's made some errors that have been costly here in the postseason, and we need to win 3 games in a row now, including game number 5 on the road, to guide this team back to a World Series. It's been a win-now season for us here in Colorado after we made it all the way to Game 7 of the World Series a year ago. And now there is a very realistic chance that we're not even going to make it to a Game 6 in the National League Championship Series this year. We've got our young ace, Leo Martinez, on the mound, but they're pretty happy with Logan Gilbert on the mound, 2-0 with a 1.46 ERA in the playoffs, including the win over Martinez in game number 1 of this series. Can our Rockies send things back home, or does a season of high expectations end here today? And we will be going home, and monster game for our Rockies, 17-0. So a couple of touchdowns with the extra points and a field goal added, and we pitched a shutout against the Pirates, so a 17-0 victory. So we've definitely outscored the Pirates in this series at this point, but if I think back, I believe there was a World Series between the Yankees and the Pirates in the early 60s when the Yankees outscored the Pirates by a pretty significant amount, but I believe the Pirates won in 7 games. Maybe that's the situation we could be headed for here. Martinez evens his record in this series at 1-1. Gilbert evens his record at 1-1. Home runs from Tovar, Ryan Stone, and Gus Nieves. 17 runs on 19 hits. No runs on 3 hits for the Pirates. Both teams made an error. Second inning, Mr. West with an RBI single, and the top of the fourth, a grand slam by Tovar to give us an 8-0 lead. And obviously, we never looked back at that point. The middle of the order was dominant. Our second, third, fourth, and fifth hitters, Tovar, Stone, Nieves, and Roberts Jr., all had 3 hits apiece. West also with 3 hits today. So we had 5 guys on our team had as many hits as the entire Pittsburgh roster did today. Martinez, 3 hits, 10 strikeouts, no earned runs over 6 1/3 innings. Joe Rock with 2 innings of perfect relief for us. So Ezequiel Tovar ties the National League playoff game record for runs. So we're still alive, but we're going to have to win both games back in Colorado, and certainly only one of those both games is even guaranteed, and that'll be game number 6 in 2 days. And as we get ready for game number 6 of this series, the Tampa Bay Rays already waiting for whoever wins in the National League after they took out the Mariners 4-1. We've got Levi Sterling, the right-hander, on the mound for Pittsburgh. Isaiah Shader, who missed the playoffs last year and has been outstanding for us in the playoffs this year with a 2-0 record and a 1.26 ERA, on the mound for our Rockies. Can we push things to a deciding game number 7? And we can. A 2-1 victory. Looks like it got into the bullpen. Wellington Herrera with the W. Quintanilla, who has been involved in a lot in this series, takes the loss. Blanco Jr. with a home run. So we know that a solo shot was all of the meaningful offense for the Pirates. 1 run on 4 hits for them. We scored a run in the second, the home run by Blanco in the 7th to tie things up. And then in the 10th, Marcelo Meyer with a double, followed by an RBI single by Cole Carrig to walk off the Pirates. And after 10 innings, we're headed to a game number 7. Kevin Roberts Jr., the youngster, is the one who drove in the run for us in the 2nd inning. And Cole Carrig in the 10th inning, pinch hitting for the catcher Flores. He's actually hit .263 for us, so he's been respectable in these playoffs after his rough regular season, particularly with those 4 ribbies. But the manager pushing the right buttons when a pinch hitter walks the other team off in the bottom of the 10th, you thank the manager for his good judgment. Shader with an outstanding outing, 3 hits, a walk, and 8 strikeouts, just 1 earned run. Gibson got 1 out with 6 pitches to get out of that 8th inning, and then a 2-inning save, or a 2-inning win for Wellington Herrera, as we obviously scored there and walked things off after Herrera had pitched the 9th and 10th innings. So we head to a deciding game number 7 between our Pittsburgh Pirates and the Colorado Rockies. Andrew Painter, 0-1 record, but the 1.69 ERA is very impressive. But Emmanuel Moxley, the youngster, after winning 15 games for Pittsburgh, is 2-0 in the playoffs, has not allowed a run. If they really do pitch him, it looks like they will be pitching Moxley on short rest in the deciding game number 7 here in Colorado. We will see if we can get back to a World Series, or will we face a Game 7 postseason loss at home for a second consecutive postseason. And we are headed back to the World Series. So the Rockies, after falling behind 3-1, 17-0 victory in Pittsburgh in Game 5, and then back-to-back nail-biters, 2-1 in classic October baseball in Colorado. Herrera wins the second straight game in relief. Lucas Erceg takes the loss. Marcelo Meyer with a home run. We'll see if maybe that was a walk-off also. And the youngster, Kevin Roberts Jr., after an okay but not overwhelming rookie season given his expectations, wins the National League Championship Series MVP. Taking a look at the box score, and it was another walk-off game for the Rockies. So outstanding series for our Rockies. Pittsburgh, RBI double from Maloney in the second, took the lead. In the fifth, we scored a run. Looks like Christian Arguelles drove that one in. And then in the bottom of the ninth, a solo home run by Marcelo Meyer sends the Rockies back to the World Series, where Tampa Bay is waiting for us. Not a lot of offense today. 1 run on 8 hits for Pittsburgh, 2 runs on 6 hits for the Rockies. Another couple errors for our Rockies. But we've come back from the deficit, and Painter, although he still hasn't earned a win for himself in these playoffs, continues to pitch very well. 5 hits, 2 walks, 1 earned runs over 5 1/3. Herrera with the W in relief for a second straight day after we walk off Pittsburgh for a second day in a row, and we've walked off the Pittsburgh Pirates season here on October 27th, 2031. And for those of you who are still with us almost 47 minutes into this episode, thanks as always for your viewership and support and loyalty to the channel. It's very much appreciated. Also know that some of you like to look at the length of these playoff episodes and try to handicap how well we did in the playoffs. And certainly as we're hopefully going to end up with more than an hour of action in this episode, at this point, the fact that it's a long episode has boded well for our Rockies. But the biggest test of this postseason is still in front of us. The Tampa Bay Rays were the second best team in the American League this year, won the American League East, and they have been almost unbeatable in the playoffs, going 7-1 against the White Sox and the Mariners. Our Rockies, on the other hand, have gone 7-4 against the Nationals and the Pittsburgh Pirates, faced 3 consecutive elimination games against Pittsburgh when we fell behind 3-1, and have rallied to make a World Series for the second consecutive year. Last year we lost in 7 games to the Baltimore Orioles. The goal in largely running back this team this season, including bringing back Gus Nieves, was to pair the power-hitting Nieves with Ezequiel Tovar, who finally healthy this year after missing over a year, and the youngster Kevin Roberts Jr., and see if we could end up winning 11 games in the postseason this year as opposed to the 10 we won last year. And we are now 4 games away from perhaps achieving that goal. But as I mentioned, a big challenge in front of us. The Rays, an outstanding offense, tied for 4th in the American League in runs scored, and the best pitching staff in the entire American League, allowing just 640 runs this past season. They've also had a little more rest than us. We're going to have our number 4 starter on the mound here in game number 1 for us. Leo Martinez is on normal rest. Looks like our manager, though, intends to give him an extra day off. Still would have him in games 2 and 6 if necessary. I guess there is an argument perhaps to pitch Martinez in games 1 and 5. Potentially have him available on very, very short rest if needed in a game number 7. But I will defer to the wisdom of our manager on this one. He's won 3 straight games in the playoffs for us. So Braden Nett, 6-9 with a 5.24 ERA this year after an outstanding season a year ago, leading the National League in wins. A rough year for him in 2031. David Davalillo, 29-year-old right-hander, on the mound for the Rays. He was 15-6 with a 3.54 ERA this year. Led the American League with over 208 innings pitched and almost 69% of his starts being quality starts this year. So a good pitching matchup here in game number 1 of the 2031 World Series. And we get a 6-2 victory. So we're off to a good start. Kevin Roberts Jr., who we mentioned earlier, won the National League Championship Series Most Valuable Player, and he hit a home run today. And then Ryan Stone, who had an outstanding year for us with another home run. Taking a look at the box score, we scored a run in the second. They came back with 2 in the top of the third on a run-scoring double by Williams. But 4 runs for us in the bottom of the 6th, solo homer by Stone, run-scoring double by Marcelo Meyer, and then the catcher Flores with a 2-run single. And that reminds me of something incredibly important that I did not share with you that I'll talk about after the end of this recap. 2 runs on 3 hits for the Rays. We had 6 runs on 9 hits. Another error for us. Adael Amador this time. Haven't played the tightest defense this postseason, unfortunately. But we're up in the World Series. Net with a nice outing. 3 hits, 1 walk, and 7 strikeouts over 5 1/3 innings. Did give up 2 runs, but none were earned due to that error by Amador. Hopefully this poor fielding doesn't come back to cost us in a big game in this World Series. Marcelo Meyer tied the NL playoff game record for doubles with 3. And what Mr. Flores, who was 1 for 4 with a couple of ribbies, reminded me of, and I forgot to mention, because although this episode continues and it may look somewhat seamless to you, it's actually been a couple of hours since I played the National League Championship Series. But we got some very good news on the injury front, and Drew Romo, only 1 day left to recover from that hamstring strain. So as of tomorrow, he will hopefully be back in the starting lineup for us. It'll be the 30th, so 26 days since he suffered that injury, and the estimate, so you can't even see the estimate here, but I believe the estimate was 4 weeks for when he first got hurt. So we decided to roll the dice and put Romo on the playoff roster, move the youngster Chris Boone off of the roster. If I had remembered to talk about this, I was going to say my big fear was Flores getting hurt early in this game that we just won and then not really having a backup catcher on the roster. But the odds of that were fairly low, and felt that it made sense to roll the dice to ensure that Romo would be on the roster to be our starting catcher hopefully tomorrow. And since everyone else on the team is in the starting lineup somewhere against left-handed or right-handed pitching, did not want to take, for example, a Cole Carrig or maybe a Christian Arguelles or perhaps a Joey Ortiz or a Charlie Condon off of the roster to carry 3 catchers. So rolled the dice on that one, and seems to have worked out for us. The hope will be that Romo will be back tomorrow with Leo Martinez on the mound, and that is certainly the battery that you would think would give us the best chance possible of any starting pitcher and catcher combination in our organization to get us a W and hopefully take a 2-0 lead. Check back in now and just make sure that, looks like Romo is healthy. So, unlike the 3 previous seasons when we had pretty significant injuries that ended the seasons of important players, with the fact that it took us 7 games to get to the World Series and somewhat late finish to the season anyways, Romo hopefully can be our catcher for up to 6 more games in the World Series, although if we want to get greedy, we'd love him to only play 3 more this year if they were all wins for our Rockies. Not going to get any time to shake off the rust, so don't know how much we're expecting from him offensively after not playing in close to a month. But hopefully that better defense will be an asset for us. Leo Martinez, the 21-year-old, 2-1 in the playoffs this year with a 1.80 ERA. So he is potentially having one of the great postseasons in history for an incredibly young pitcher, up there with Fernando Valenzuela and Brett Saberhagen from my most formative years in the 80s, when you think about pitchers who had some outstanding postseason runs on the way to their teams winning a title. And perhaps we'll get something similar out of Martinez this year. On the mound for Tampa, the 37-year-old left-hander Michio Nakamura. Only 1 start and 1 inning pitched for the Rays this year. Obviously, he must have had some pretty significant injuries, but it seems like a very curious choice. Torn flexor tendon in his elbow kept him out for 6 months. Let's see what he's done in the playoffs. And he has started 2 games for them in the playoffs, 8 2/3 innings, 4.15 ERA. So might be stretched out enough that he could give them 5 innings. But interesting matchup for us here today against the lefty. He does have ground ball tendencies, does do a good job keeping the ball in the park. So he may not be a horrible guy to have on the mound in Colorado. But he's also a 2-time world champion, 2028 and 2030. He was on that Baltimore team that beat us last year. So we'll see if we can turn the tables on Mr. Nakamura in this World Series. Martinez against Nakamura. Would love to take a 2-0 lead in this series. And an 8-7 victory. So the starters not involved in the decisions. 4 ribbies from the young outfielder Trent Clausen, who's a platoon guy for us, plays primarily against left-handed pitching. So he didn't have a ton of at-bats this year, and he hasn't had a ton of at-bats this playoffs, but makes the most of them with 4 ribbies today. And as we'll be talking about in likely our next episode, he also was very productive this year for us in the limited playing time that he did have. Wellington Herrera, the closer, gets the win in relief. Wonder if it's another walk-off here. Adrian Morejon takes the loss for Tampa Bay. Arguelles and Clausen, a couple of rookie outfielders with home runs for us. So in the first 2 games of this series, the investments that we've made in drafting and scouting and player development paying off, with the rookie Roberts Jr., the rookie Christian Arguelles, the rookie Trent Clausen, and the effective rookie Ryan Stone, although he did have enough at-bats a year ago that he didn't actually qualify to be a rookie this year. But 4 young outfielder/first base types with home runs for us in the first two games of this World Series. Taking a look at the box score, we jumped out with 3 in the top of the first, or Tampa Bay jumped out with 3 in the top of the first. We're at home, of course. 5 runs for us in the third, 3-run homer by Arguelles, the big blow. But they bounced back with 4 in the sixth. Cameron Cawley, a 2-run single off of Santos, the big blow there. That gave them an 8-5 lead. We chipped back. That gave them a 7-5 lead. We chipped back with a run in the bottom of the sixth. And then Drew Romo in the lineup for the first time in almost a month. RBI single to tie things up in the bottom of the ninth. And then Trent Clausen did walk them off with that solo home run off of Morejon in the bottom of the 11th. So that's got to be a pretty dispiriting loss for Tampa Bay. 2 hits from Amador, Roberts Jr., and Romo today, and 3 hits from Clausen, who had the monster game for us. Martinez, his worst outing of the postseason, 8 hits, 2 walks, and 4 earned runs over 5 innings, although he still struck out 9. Santos, with a very rough outing, blew the save. But after that, only 2 hits allowed by Drew Summers, Kamar Rocker, and Wellington Herrera over the final 5 2/3 innings from the bullpen. Nakamura was injured while pitching. Can't say that that's a shock, given that he missed basically the entire year. He's 37. He's fragile physically. Only an inning and 2/3 from him. 44 pitches to get through that inning and 2/3 before he got hurt. Sheehan, Kellner, Harvey, and Morejon, and they taxed that bullpen, boy. 32, 90, 33, and 26 pitches from their relievers. Fortunately for Tampa Bay, they will have a day off tomorrow as we travel to Tampa Bay. But this World Series is off to a good start for our Colorado Rockies. And as we head to Tampa Bay for game number 3 of this World Series, 2 games down and 2 games to go to potentially win the first championship for the Colorado Rockies. Nice pitching matchup in this one. A couple of guys who are undefeated in the playoffs. Isaiah Shader, 13-8 for us during the regular season, but 2-0 with a 1.23 ERA in the playoffs. Going up against Taj Bradley, 10-6 with a 3.52 ERA in the regular season for the veteran right-hander. 3-0 with a 3.38 ERA in this postseason. So a nice pitching matchup here. Obviously, we'd love to sweep the World Series, but with a 2-0 lead, our primary goal, honestly, is to just ensure that we win one of these next 3 games, and in a worst-case scenario, are going back to Colorado with a 3-2 lead and only needing to win 1 game at home. But certainly would love to wrap things up in Tampa Bay. But the primary goal is to win one of these next 3. And unfortunately, it did not happen in game number 3. Bradley with the W. Shader takes the loss. We got a homer from Amador, but 5 home runs today for Tampa Bay. Dominic Keegan, their catcher, with 2 of them. Xavier Isaac, Cameron Cawley, and Carson Williams also had homers. So a rough outing for Shader. Tampa Bay scored early and often. 2 runs in the first, 1 in the second, 2 in the third to take a 5-0 lead. Marcelo Meyer had a 2-run double in the top of the 5th as we closed the gap to 5-3. But they came back with a run in the 5th and then 3 in the 6th to largely put things out of reach, unfortunately. Couple ribbies from 4 different players: Isaac, Abreu, Keegan, and Cawley for Tampa Bay on their way to a relatively easy 9-4 victory. Rough outing from Shader: 4 hits, 3 walks, and 5 earned runs over 2 2/3 innings. Bobby Miller also with a rough performance. Bradley, 4 hits, no walks, 3 earned runs over 5 2/3 to run his record to 4-0 in this postseason. So we've still got 2 games left to try to accomplish our goal of winning a game in Tampa Bay. Opportunity today with Andrew Painter, who has been really good in these playoffs, 1.69 ERA despite that 0-1 record. Anthony Bender, the veteran right-hander on the mound for Tampa Bay, 9-7 with a 4.10 earned run average for the veteran right-hander. Can our Rockies take a 3-1 lead? Yes, we can. A 6-2 victory. Painter, who struggled mightily in last year's postseason, finally gets a W for his 1-loss record. Sheehan takes the loss. Home run by Ezekiel Tovar, who of course has missed 3 consecutive postseasons for us. 2028, as we talked about at the start of the episode, with that strained PCL, and then 2029 with the torn labrum. And then last season with the setback he suffered from that torn labrum that cost him all of the postseason. So we have been without our outstanding shortstop for 3 consecutive postseasons. And the home run that he hit today helped push us on the precipice of perhaps finally winning a World Series title. 4 runs for the Rockies in the top of the 5th. Meyer with a run-scoring double, West with a 2-run double, and Arguelles with a RBI double as well. Added runs in the 7th and 8th to take a 6-0 lead. Tampa Bay did score 2 in the bottom of the 8th, a 2-run double from Aranda. But when all was said and done, Colorado 6-2 victors. Marcelo Meyer with 2 hits, West with 3 ribbies for us. Meyer also scored a couple of runs. And we are now just 1 win away from fulfilling our goal in this win now season. Painter, as we noted, his first win of this postseason, ran his record to 1-1. Excellent start, 4 hits, 1 walk, 2 earned runs over 7 2/3 innings while striking out 6. His ERA under 2 this postseason. Anthony Bender injured while pitching. He was actually good. No hits over 2 1/3 innings. So certainly helpful for us that he suffered that injury. Packy Naughton also injured while pitching. And our Colorado Rockies are on the precipice of achieving our goal as we continue scouting the international amateur free agent pool that we'll be talking much more about, I'm sure, in a couple of months of Game Time. But right now, we are 1 game away from winning it all. We achieved our primary goal for the 3 games in Tampa by winning at least 1. Would not mind celebrating a World Series at home in Colorado in front of the home fans. But when you've got an opportunity to win one, don't want to take that risk of what happened to the Pirates in the NLCS, where they had a 3-1 lead on us and dropped 3 in a row. We don't want to take any chance of that same scenario happening to us, so might as well try to win it today. A rematch of game number 1, which we won 6-2 with Braden Nett against David Davalillo. Nett, similar to Painter, 0-1 with a 1.50 ERA, so although he doesn't have a win on his record in this postseason, his ERA has been fantastic. Davalillo 1-2 with a 3.78 ERA. Can Nett get his first win of this postseason here in game number 5? He cannot. So we are headed back to Colorado. Got to win one of these final 2 games back at home to clinch the first World Series ever in Rockies history, and would obviously be our first World Series in this playthrough, but still have work to do. Mason Montgomery, pitching for Tampa Bay, gets the win in relief. Joe Rock takes the loss. Hunter Harvey with the save. The youngster Kevin Roberts Jr. with a home run. Luis Robert Jr. and Boston Kellner with home runs for Tampa Bay. We jumped out to a 4-0 lead in the third inning, run-scoring single from Tovar, but 3 in the fourth and 4 in the bottom of the sixth from the Rockies gave them a 7-4 lead, and they never looked back at that point. Couple of hits for us from Tovar today, and he hit the ribby, 2 ribbies from Stone and Roberts Jr. as well, but only 6 hits for our Rockies. Braden Nett, 4 hits, 1 walk, 3 earned runs over 4 2/3, did strike out 8. Rough outing for Joe Rock, 3 hits, 2 walks, and 4 earned runs while recording only 2 outs. And it's time now to head back to Colorado. We did what I said was our minimum viable product, winning one of the 3 games in Tampa Bay, so we are heading back to Colorado with a 3-2 lead, but we still have unfinished business. And game number 6 back in Colorado, I mentioned that 21-year-old Leo Martinez was looking to perhaps etch his name into history as a very young starting pitcher, having a fantastic performance for a team on the way to a World Series championship. And with a 2-1 record and 2.88 ERA in these playoffs, if he pitches us to a win today, he may do exactly that. On the mound for Tampa Bay, the 28-year-old right-hander Jose Corniel, 8-8 record with a 3.47 ERA for Tampa Bay this year. I don't think he is pitched against us. If he did, it wasn't to start. He's pitched 2 games in these playoffs, both out of the bullpen. Not incredible stamina, but he did start 15 games for Tampa Bay this year. I guess maybe with the injuries they've suffered, they're going to try to piece things together with bullpen game here, because it's hard to imagine they're going to get more than 4, maybe 5 innings from Corniel if things go perfectly, and there's certainly no guarantee that will occur. Can Leo Martinez, the rookie, pitch these Colorado Rockies to a World Series championship here in game number 6? The answer is yes. The Colorado Rockies win the Moneyball achievement due to our low payroll, and we are champions for the first time ever in this playthrough. Mentioned at the start of this episode and at the start of this season that we were win now team, and it all worked out in the end despite the injury issues. Martinez gets the win, 6-1 victory for Colorado over Tampa Bay. Corniel takes the loss. Kevin Roberts Jr. with his 3rd home run of the World Series. Gus Nieves with his 1st of the World Series. And Kevin Roberts Jr., the highly regarded rookie who we picked 5th overall several years ago, had, by our expectations, a disappointing regular season, although it wasn't a bad regular season. And he concludes his rookie year being named the NLCS MVP and the World Series MVP for the Colorado Rockies' first World Series championship. Taking a look at the box score, the cleanup hitter Nieves gave us a 3-0 lead in the bottom of the first with a 3-run homer, 2-run double from Ezequiel Tovar in the 7th, and then simple math and logic tells me that Kevin Roberts Jr. added that solo home run in the bottom of the 8th as an insurance run for us. Couple of runs scored by the youngster Arguelles. We held Tampa Bay to just 4 hits. 2 of them were doubles, but Martinez, with an outstanding performance, comes up clutch to run his playoff record to 3-1, 3 hits, no walks, 5 strikeouts, and just 1 earned run over 7 innings pitched. Kamar Rocker, who was our 5th starter much of this year, as a guy that we basically rented for the final year of his contract before he hits free agency from the Red Sox. 1 hit, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts over the final 2 innings. Rocker with a 2.84 ERA over the course of this postseason. Leo Martinez, the rookie pitcher, your player of the game. And as we talked about, Kevin Roberts Jr., the rookie outfielder, is your World Series most valuable player here in 2031. Everything worked out well for us. It was a win-now season, and we did end up winning it all. Will be interesting to see if that ultimately helps us get a nice bump in our budget. We were tied for 22nd this year at $220 million, but we've accomplished our owner goal as far as attendance this year, and he's had some longer-term goals for us to win a championship. We were also in a final year of our contract here in this 7th season for us in this playthrough. So I am assuming we will be renewed by Mr. Montfort, but we will find that out very shortly. And in their 3rd World Series appearance overall, the Colorado Rockies finally get things right. 3rd time they've faced an AL East team in the World Series. Lost to the Boston Red Sox many years ago. Lost to the Baltimore Orioles last year, but defeated the Tampa Bay Rays here 4-2 in the 2031 World Series. Looks like we got a 12-point boost to fan interest, so that's very positive. Would love at some point to get off of this pathetic fan loyalty. We've now made the playoffs 6 consecutive seasons, including trips to the World Series the last couple of years. When we move to the beginning of the off season tomorrow, we'll find out whether that perhaps has changed. It generally takes a long time for those things to evolve, but certainly the track record that we put up, we dropped to that pathetic rating after the 2025 season when the Rockies were having that historically bad year. We took over in the middle, and it ended up being a very bad year, although better under our leadership than when we took the team over. Since then, it made the playoffs 6 straight years, so it may just be a question of time, but would potentially be an opportunity for us to take a huge step forward this offseason if we get off of that pathetic fan loyalty and perhaps also get a nice bump to our budget. We'll find out shortly the answers to those questions. And your 2031 Colorado Rockies are your World Series champions. As we noted, the first World Series championship in Rockies history, and more importantly for us, the first World Series championship in this playthrough. Take a look now at the big news. We've got some big option year decisions on veteran pitchers, 4 veteran pitchers actually. Gregory Santos, Jesus Luzardo, who was our former number 1 starter and didn't even make the playoff roster this year, Bobby Miller, and Luke Little. Development facilities are open. Arbitration is getting underway. The offseason ready to begin. Top prospect list. Dan Patterson, who we signed as our second round pick this year, is somehow listed as the number 8 prospect in all of baseball. So that was a move that was recommended by NS1CLRK. He was the top player on his list of draft prospects because Patterson was projected to go with the 21st pick in the 3rd round. We did wait until our final pick in the 2nd round to pick him up, but a little surprised to see that we have a top 10 prospect, and floored that it's Dan Patterson, but nice to see. Looks like we've got a find as far as an international player, but Hector Lopez doesn't look like the biggest prospect in history. Chris Predmore, oh, that's an interesting one. This is disappointing. Double-A player. He's a guy who we drafted a few years ago, and had expectations for him. 7.23 ERA this year over 23 2/3 innings. He had some major injury issues for us, but he was a guy that we picked relatively high in the draft. 4th round pick back in 2027, but he has had some injury issues. Partially torn UCL. I guess if I had looked closely, I would have known that that was career ending. I did see that he was on the IL this year, but I didn't look closely enough to realize that I would have known back in July that his career was over. So Predmore was a guy that we thought had some potential. Unfortunately, many youngsters not going to be realized. No shock after the season we had that our contract was extended 4 more years at $1.4 million a season. Review of our season goals. We know this is going to be pretty good as well. Goal was to win the championship. We got a World Series trophy. What more does he need to say? He wants us to find a homegrown player, and he's disappointed that we didn't do that. Is pleased that we increased attendance. Happy with the bump to fan interest from winning it all. Wants us to do better. Thinks that we're trying to actively alienate our foreign fans with the disrespect we've shown trying to bring in international players. Gave us 5 years to bring a trophy to the city, and we've done that. So happy with our performance as far as goals. Ecstatic overall when he considers on and off-field success. Goals for next year: reach the playoffs, upgrade at center field. Still wants us to acquire a homegrown player. Still wants us to increase fan interest, better amateur free agent fines, and win another championship in the next 5 years. What type of budget will Mr. Monfort be giving us to do that? We were at $220 million this year. We made about $10 million during the regular season, and I believe that the overall profits were well over $30 million by the end of the playoffs. So we made him a ton of money. We won a championship. We achieved our attendance goal. Is he going to try to make things a little easier for us to run things back next year? And he did give us a $16 million boost. $236 million, still not incredibly large payroll, but it's going to be by far the most that we have ever had over the course of this playthrough. And it puts us in kind of the low end of the middle range in the major leagues at 19th. So $236 million. So I can't complain about that. We've got money available right now, and as I noted, team option on Jesus Luzardo, which will probably decline. Team options on Luke Little, Gregory Santos, and Bobby Miller as well. A number of arbitration-eligible players who could be leaving us. The reliever Drew Summers, the infielder Adile Amador, both free agents, along with Dasan Hill, who was in the minors for us this year, and then Joey Ortiz and Kumar Rocker, who were rentals for us, where we fortunately got the teams to retain their contracts. all were contributors to what we tried to do this year. And so we can potentially open up some more money with some of the decisions that we're going to be making as far as those team options, arbitration eligible players, and some other decisions. So we've got a championship in the book for this playthrough, championship in the book for the Rockies, and we are at the strongest position we've ever been in terms of our budget and our fan interest. Unfortunately, even with 6 consecutive playoff appearances and that first world title in Rockies history, the fan loyalty is still pathetic. So we've got to do more to win back the fans of Colorado, unfortunately. But we will be trying to win back those Colorado fans even further from a position of strength because, as we've noted, we are the 2031 World Series champions. Next time around, we will do our annual roster review and start thinking a little more deeply about many of those big decisions that we have in front of us. I'm sure it'll be helpful to hear some thoughts from the Worldwide Scouting Department on how you suggest that we proceed. And we'll learn more about what this roster accomplished during the regular season and the postseason in our next episode, and we'll also start hopefully making some initial decisions about what this roster might look like in 2032 when we try to defend this title. Until our next episode, thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.